All right, welcome everyone to this week's Force Friday. Hey guys, hi Diego.
Hey, Mike, quickie.
How
I
are
was
you?
fast. How are
How's it
you?
going? Good. How are you?
I'm fine.
Swen, good. Swenley, how are you doing?
Great. Excited for
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah, awesome. And last but not least, Mrityunjay, how's everything going over in India?
Hey, Mike. Everything's going fine across the oceans.
Nice. All right, welcome everyone to this week's Force Friday. All right, so let's see. So this Friday, we're going to be talking about drawing from imagination, right? It's one thing to learn how to draw. Most of the art education we receive on this is from reference, right? And we're going to actually do a video, I think, in the future on how to best use reference. But the other step, the other challenge is to actually be able to get from reference to imagination, which for some is a big hurdle. On a personal note, for me, this was actually a very big step to make that transition. I was really trained so much in the space of being able to analyze what I was looking at that drawing from imagination was quite a challenge. So I'm going to share with you a whole bunch of different tricks today. I'm at the front end of today's session. And then Diego, Swenley, and Mrityunjay are going to show you how to use some of those tricks for you to draw from imagination, right? So we have a lot to cover, so I'm just going to get started here. As always, we have the live chat going, so if you have any questions or something you want to say, please feel free to type in there. Looks like you're all doing that already, so hello, everyone. So here we go. So I very strongly believe that force is a key, a very big key to drawing from imagination, and I'm going to spell out why. The first thing is, and this is a really big deal, a really important one, is it adds believability, right? When you're drawing from imagination, one of the big things that adds believability to a drawing is understanding gravity, right? And gravity, therefore, is representing function in the figure. This is something for those of you that are already on the site, you know that we talk about the gravity guide and how to try to understand how the poses actually work relative to function. So trying to, bring that understanding to a drawing from imagination is something is a challenge, right? It's really something to tackle. It's like, not only am I trying to draw out of my head and draw figures out of my head moving in space, but if I really want to get believability into them, I want to ground them. I want to feel that they have weight, that anatomy, for instance, is also functioning the way it would, right? Like areas that are contracting, and those that are extended or stretched, right? So we have this gravity, we have function, things work relative to gravity. And then there's also rhythm, right? And as you all know, right, force obviously creates a lot of rhythm in the figures, right? So it's this rhythm that creates a sense of connectivity in the figure, as we already know, and the fluidity. And that brings, again, this huge amount of believability to the work. Now, by the way, if you know the rhythms, that allows you to draw really fast, right? And create tons of different poses quickly. And you're going to get to see Mrityunjay do that today from imagination, right? So how, right? How do we do it? As I was saying, there's the gravity guide, right? There's force fluidity, which is rhythm, right? That's the connectivity of the body. And last but not least, which is really, really, really important when you're drawing from imagination, is those templates, because knowing the templates tells you where to go in the body. And if you know the templates well, you get to do that in a very short period of time. Most of the time when I see people draw from imagination, it's way more cumbersome, of course, because you're having to make everything up, right? When we have reference, it's the answers, in a sense, are being given to you. So drawing from imagination takes more effort, takes more time. And if you know where the templates are, you can get through the body pretty quickly because you know the rules, right? So having some rules, having a process, I think those are actually really important for drawing from imagination, okay? Okay, any questions so far out there before I move to the next step? Force drawing is a drawing method, which means you can use it, draw, yes. Thank you, Swenley, for that. Okay, so it seems like we're all good. Let's keep going. So you want to learn from imagination. What is the best way to do that with force is draw a lot. And what I mean by that is not the obvious of like, well, I should practice. What I mean here is, if you want to learn how to draw from imagination, then you have to put a lot of information on the page. You've got to draw a lot. We've talked about this in a prior video. You know, I've drawn like this scale of saying like, here's drawing on the page and here's, you know, drawing out of your head. And one of the biggest mistakes you can make is you look at the pros and you look at their finished work, and there's not a lot of work on the page or in the drawing. It's like a cleanup, right? It's a finish that you're looking at, and it's easy to make the assumption that that's what they did to draw it. Sometimes they do. You know, you've got artists out there like MikeM.png who's doing that, right? It's like immediacy drawing, right? It's happening right away. But over here was all the years and effort of him working, right? Understanding perspective, structure, anatomy, all of the like memory he has of how things work, what they look like. All those years finally bring him up to, yeah, I could just draw this immediately, right? But you know, you don't want to look at that last stage of a professional's work. What you want to look at is all of the work it took for them to get there, right? I've been watching, you know, on Netflix, The Last Dance, I think it's called, right, with about Michael Jordan. And you know, it's one thing to see someone like Michael Jordan get out on the court and, you know, play like the ultimate basketball player, but he wasn't born like that, right? Like, you have to go and do the work. He's the one who was always at the gym first and always at the gym last. You know, he's the one who's taking more shots than anybody's taking. He's the one who's most disciplined and most aggressive about his discipline and really focused on winning the games, right? So it takes a lot of like mental discipline, a lot of physical discipline, and a lot of practice, right? A lot of practice. So don't hold back how much drawing you put on the page. You should be dealing with perspective and force and form and shape, anatomy, perspective, structure, building things and changing them and tweaking and constantly working on it, because you want to learn how to draw. And the thing that we are doing is the act of drawing, right? That's the job. If you want to be a plumber, you should be plumbing, right? A lot. If you want to be a basketball player, you should be on a court practicing, dribbling, shooting, right? So we're drawing. So don't shortcut yourself. The best way for you to learn is by drawing, seeing your drawing on the screen or the piece of paper, and then working with what you have and learning how to fix it and change it and improve it, right? So super, super important. Now, I'm going to share with you 3 ways to get to the solution meaning like how to draw better from imagination. Okay, there's a couple of different options I was able to come up with. One is to iterate, right? Again, Mattesi will be doing some of this today, and we talk a lot about this on drawingforce.com. When you iterate, you're taking a pose, and you could do one of 2 things, actually. You could say, I have a pose and I want to iterate on it, which means you might like push it once, push it twice, push it again, push again. So you're drawing the full figure over and over and over and over again. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. The other way would be to say, well, I don't only want to iterate on that one pose, but let's say I have somebody who's fighting with a sword, right? I might want to iterate on what the pose could be for them fighting with this sword. So that's another iteration, right? So you can see there's different ways of basically doing explorations, another term for it. You could be exploring, iterating, experimenting. They're all the same thing. Those are 3 different words to get you to the same idea, which is to do something over and over again. Again, you're drawing, right? The act here, what we're trying to do is learn how to draw. So you should be drawing a lot. Number 2 is to draw in phases. So I do this in mentorship quite a bit. When students get through force, form, and shape, I actually have them go through a period of time where they draw in phases. So they draw force, right? Then they take form, they put form on top of the force drawing, and then they take shape and they put it on top of that. And it's phases, right? So it's kind of like levels sitting on top of one another. What that allows me to see is if they're weakest in one area compared to another, right? And we can adjust then and say, you know what, the force isn't that great here, or you know what, you still have this little struggle in form. But you know, for you, when you're drawing from imagination, if you can get the force down, you can get the templates down and understand the full body's like rhythm, you can then say, well, okay, now that I have that compartmentalized, I understand how to get the fluidity and I understand the templates. Now you can kind of shift your mind and say, let me focus on form. Let me see if I can get the form in here. I can get the turning edges in here. I can sculpt this, or even try to get anatomy. And then see also the shape design of it. It just gives your brain the chance to go through a couple of different steps instead of tackling everything at once, which is typically how people try to draw from imagination, right? Is that to say that's a forever thing? No. Again, it's a phase, right? It's a way of you learning how to draw from imagination. And then when you get really good at that, all three of those balls can be in the air at the same time. You can be like when I typically draw, I draw with force, shape, and I fill it with anatomy. I go force, shape, anatomy, force, shape, anatomy, force, shape, anatomy. So I've got my rhythms, I've got the silhouette of what I'm drawing, and then I plug anatomy into that. Sometimes all of those come together. It's like force, shape with anatomy. So the shape already has the bumps of the anatomy on the contour, and then I can just kind of fill in the rest of the anatomy on the inside because I know how the inside affects the outside and how the outside affects the inside, right? It's down the road though, right? It's first getting through the practice of doing all these things in phases to allow your brain to understand it well enough to where you could put it in the back of your head and bring the next piece of information to the front, and then put that to the back of your head until the back of your head is, you know, filled with intuition, basically, right? Like you learn how to do this all at one time. Okay, last but not least, this is a newer one. One of the people I mentor has brought this up a couple of times, so I'm sharing with you publicly really for the first time, which is to actually just deep dive on one drawing. It's a little similar to number 2, except not necessarily phases. It's more like you're just doing the drawing, right? And you're working with force, form, and shape. So I would say probably happens after number 2. At this point, you're like drawing, right? Everything's coming together. But what I love about this is, again, really pushing for your best, right? It's like, here's my drawing, force, form, shape, anatomy. I've got costuming and stuff in here. Not good enough. Another level goes on top of that. It's like taking another sheet of tracing paper or another layer in Photoshop. I'm going to do it again and keep working it. There's a tangent here. The leg could be better. The pose could be better. There's more space. Let me push it again. Another layer on top of that, right? And just keep working it and working it and working it. What I love about this one, and I've been through this myself, especially when I was in school, which is very long ago. I love the idea of just seeing what am I really capable of? You know, like this is a great process for you trying to get to your best, right? All of these are the force, form, shape one too. Like, let me get to my best, you know? And I don't know, maybe it's the Jordan thing that's in my head right now, but I remember going through that myself. You really start to push up against where you think your ability is and constantly try to push against that barrier to see how far you can actually go. Like, how far can I really go? You'd be amazed if you actually took a little bit more time then at the end on a drawing with force, form, shape, anatomy, clothing, whatever it may be. If you really took your time on it, you know, maybe a drawing lasts, for instance, many, many hours or even a week, right? Where you're working on this thing day in and day out, maybe 2 or 3 hours a day, right? And you come back to it fresh and you put another couple of hours, you keep doing that. You'd be amazed as to how far you can go. One of my students, a guy named Tony, he was showing me drawings of his from like his early 20s, and he was kind of self-taught. But it was amazing how far he got because he would do a lot of work on the page and his eye and his brain knew enough of what looked wrong. It took him a long time because he didn't know how to fix it quickly, right? So that's where the time suck is, right? But he did know what looked right, right? So hopefully with practice and time, you know, you get to do that a lot faster. It's not going to take you hours. Hours can turn into minutes, right? With practice, you get to a place where if something's wrong, you know right away and you can fix it. Or it just ends up never being wrong again, right? Because you just know what looks right as you're drawing it, right? So those are the 3, you know, main processes. It's iteration and experimentation, drawing in phases, right? So going through force, form, shape, and anatomy. So you're kind of layering per pose, but you're doing it like the books, basically. And then the last one is all those things are combined and you're doing a drawing, you're doing an image, but on that, you just keep going layer on top of layer on top of layer to make it the most forceful, the most solid drawing with the most amount of excellent shape design, and then whatever else may be piled on that, right? So that's what I leave you with today. The other guys are going to show you them drawing today. And if you have any questions, of course, always feel free to email me about this stuff or write it in the chat, okay? We're going to end today on the dot, all right? I have a tight deadline today, so we're not going over. We're going to end on the hour today. So I'm going to leave and give the other guys the floor. I think next up is Mrityunjay, right?
Yeah, that was a great explanation, Mike. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Always great. All right, guys. So here's my time to shine now. Get my studies there
yours.
and share my screen. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. Hope you can see my screen there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, guys. So, I'm going to be extending, what Mike says about, what the forces are. I mean, how to draw from imagination and all those kind of things. How to extend that. So, I'm going to start with the phase 1, and which is like brainstorming around. What I call it brainstorming around. So, what I'll be just doing is make some really, really quick drawings, right? And then what the other two instructors, like Dave and Stanley, is going to do is they're going to extend on those same drawings and show you like the full process, right? And they're going to give you like some instance on like form and shape, right? So let's jump in. Okay, so here's my blank paper. Like everybody's gonna afraid of that, in the beginning especially. So what I'm gonna be doing is the first thing is just like squelch all your fear away. It's just like a blank piece of paper. Yeah, it's the conversation is going a little bit to the like confidence area, but yeah, it is what it is, So I don't have any reference right now in front of me, as you would guess. So I'll just like start to draw some lines, I even don't know like what I'm doing right now, okay, but I'm just like brainstorming around right now, okay. So yeah, here's some of the curves that I'm gonna do. I don't know what it is. Okay, just like, okay, so I'm not gonna be like going in too details into like form and the structures. Okay, I'm just gonna be using like simple lines. My point is just to show you how you can just like brainstorm around, and what we call is like thumbnails. Okay, so we just got a little thumbnail there. You got like all the energies here. Okay, and now you can make different passes on that same drawing, right? And you can make it to like perfection or whatever you want. Okay, so yeah, just like simple drawings here. As I said, I'll be just like doing some really, really quick ones. Okay. So yeah, just like flowing around. And you can see like I'm not kind of afraid doing those lines. Why should I afraid? It for example, first of all, it is I mean, I'm not gonna show this to everyone, right? It's just like me brainstorming, finding the composition there. Okay. So yeah, something like this could happen. I can a little bit be little bit specific here, not like too much. Just it's still like forces here, okay? So I can just like understand, yeah, it's something this is the foot here. Those are the arms, like that's going there. Okay, that's it. That's the first drawing. Now let me pull up the second one here. Okay. So again, and my main starting point, you would ask me like, how did I start? So it could be anything, but yeah, actually I just like practicing force or like all these years, so I got a hierarchical mindset in my mind. Okay, so yeah, I just like start with the structure, like with the most function, right, and with the most mass here, which is like the torso. Okay, and I like started with it. That would be too much turning here. So yeah, I started with the torso, then just like pull the arms and the legs there, just for the quick reference to where like to place them. Okay, something like this. And for example, he's maybe like carrying a body there, Yeah, so brainstorming around. Maybe he's like carrying up a body there, something like this. So, and he's like clasping up onto too much. Yeah, he's like maybe like holding up that body here like that. So right now, you can see like I'm just like really, really quickly iterating on different poses, just like brainstorming. Okay? Again, let's do something different this time. Or, sorry. So as you can see, like my main goal, is like first with starting with a big mass, okay? And you can do it too. Even if you're like doing anything, you maybe just like doing some mechanical designs or whatever. The topic is how to draw from imagination. It could be anything, right? So for example, if you're drawing a tree, you can do something like this. You can just like go around, you can just like configure the shape of it. And now you just want to like build upon that, right? So, and this is not going to be the drawing, I'm just like telling you for the example there. But anyways, let's continue with our figures. Okay. So yeah, you can see like just quickly some bean exploration there. Okay, the beanbag exploration, and just a quick center line there. Okay, just like quick center line to not gonna work like that. Okay, so I just want to bring in the foot forward there. I mean the leg forward there. Okay, so and this is gonna be there at the back. And yeah, I mean, like this point, I like drawing so many figures at this point in my life, you know, it's basically a little bit clear for me, okay, that what I can play with, you know, that's actually so important, that you play with your thumbnails and not just like staying, for example, you're doing this like all the same time, and so it will just end up being figures that are like close to each other. Okay, so it's very, very important that you experiment with it, and for that you need you definitely need some courage, you know. That is what I want to say. Okay? So I can explain like it like this, so it would be a little bit better, you know, in terms of balance there. Okay, so but don't take it literally. Like I can change it a little bit, you know. For example, I just like made leg like this. Okay, so it's not like that functional here. So now my instinct says, yeah, you can just like extend it all down here, and it will make a triangle like this, and that's gonna be like more balanced than the first one. Okay, so yeah, just experiment. You know what I'm doing right now is okay, I'm gonna make some, and you can see like what the other guy's gonna do is like extend this thing on, making it more clear. But you can see like as soon as I just draw some lines, it gives me everything. It gives me volume, it gives me perspective, and that's what I'm gonna like play with, right? So if, for example, this is my torso structure, right? Something like this, I can just like make a head there. I can just make some really, really quick lines here. Okay, and yeah, that's gonna give me my thumbnails. Okay, so what I want to like experiment with. Right? So I don't think this is gonna work, so let me go with another one. Yeah, this is what it is, you know. Like it's not gonna come perfect every time, you know. You have to like experiment with it. Okay? So let's start with that, the same one. I want to get that figure down. It's going to be interesting if I able to pull it off. Okay. Seems not. Let's go with some experiments on other things. I'm gonna experiment with another torso template here. Okay. So it's gonna be like this, you know, that head, the head is like all the like force thrusting over from the back, right? So it's like thrusting here, yeah, here in the neck, and just gonna like, I'm just making really, really simple, okay? Or maybe something like this, you know, that's really, yeah, like thrusting will become more powerful there. Okay? So yeah, something like this.
Hopefully what you guys are seeing is, you know, the reason Murtunjay's figures are working and they're connected is because he knows the templates, no matter what the angle is of the pose, you know, no matter what it's doing. You know, if you learn the templates and you learn about function, like how the parts of the body are trying to create balance and they're working as a whole system, if you know the system, it becomes really easy to draw figures from imagination. You know, there's no like second guessing. Where I see a lot of drawings done from imagination from new students that come to the website and they're really stiff, right? And they have some structure in them, but they don't have this first moment, this first idea, which is what Murtunjay is doing, right? Like you could see each drawing is only taking him a few seconds to draw, and it's like pose after pose after pose after pose of just dynamic figures. You'll notice that they're mostly curves in the beginning as well, right? So just to be really obvious here, curves are powerful, right? Curves create dynamism, right? Curves connect into one another. When you draw from straight line to straight line, the relationship is not the same as doing this to this. Like one thing hooks better into another. So if you understand the templates and how one, curve hooks into another curve, you start creating rhythms, right? And those rhythm systems allow you to draw figures really, really fast, right?
Yeah. It was a really good explanation. Okay, so as Mike suggested angles were, I'm just gonna play with some angles, maybe like a top-down view there. Okay, so.
Yeah, this will be a good segue into Diego. What's happening is there's a little bit more form coming in here, which is what Diego's going to talk about.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
even in something as simple as these few lines, it feels like we're looking at Matunje's drawing from the top down because of the placement of the head over the shoulders, and there's some overlapping happening there, right? So in a few lines, you're able to insinuate perspective and form. Right? He had a couple of lines going around the torso there that were helping that, right? So, it's just practicing this stuff out, and what I hope you guys are seeing is just how fast Matunje is iterating here. I don't know how many poses you've done, but it's probably at least over 10 at this point, right? In a very short period of time. Yeah, every drawing is taking like a minute, 2 minutes long, right? There's no, what's the word I'm looking for? Like obligation to that particular drawing, right? There's no strong commitment to it. You're just iterating and trying to problem solve and just figure it out, right?
Yeah. The best thing is, I see people, they're like kind of connected to their drawing. So for example, they feel something that, yeah, it is looking good. So they don't want to erase it. So this is, you should be careful of, guys, because you need to, you need to respect your drawings, but you don't need to like connect them so much that you cannot experiment more, okay?
Yeah, don't fall in love.
Yeah.
just date your drawing, but don't marry it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm eating up my Diego's time, so I'm gonna be doing a little last one, and then I'm gonna hand it over to Maestro Diego. Okay, something like this. That is like that. Okay, that's enough. So okay, all right, guys.
Cool.
Here's my end of this part, and I'm gonna hand it over to Maestro Diego. He's gonna extend on the form now. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you. Great job, Matunje.
Hey, thank you.
All right, Diego, all yours.
Well, Matunje, that was awesome to watch you draw in high speed.
Exactly.
People were saying on the chat that was really, really fast, and that's good. But as Mike says, there's no reason to go fast. It's not an objective. You don't want to get faster. Matunje can do it, and that's awesome. But it's not a goal. It's not like you want to draw fast, but it's good that you can do it if you want, because you have the concepts in your head that allows you to do it fast. Okay. It's not the most important idea to do it fast. Okay, so let me change the camera here. Let's go there. And what I will show you here is the idea of drawing from imagination, but thinking about form. And what with form, we mean like structure and volume and the things that go away and come towards us. Okay, so let's think about, for example, I'm going to explain a little bit about a leg, and then I'm going to go into a full figure. So imagine that we know that this is a leg. This is pretty crude because it's just a rectangle, right? That's a leg. So if we know it's a rectangle, we can move it to any position we want. Like we can turn into this side. So that's drawing from imagination, a rectangle. So first of all, we talk about reference a little bit. So you need to know what you're going to draw. There's no possible drawing from imagination if you don't know what you're going to draw, or you don't have how it works, right? So there comes function. So if we know the templates, as was Matunje showing, we know that the legs is coming from the front. This is a side template for the leg, and then back, and then you have the foot, right? So you go in front to back. That would be our leg. Okay, I'm on full screen here on the, yeah. Okay, so we have front to back. So that would be our rhythm created here in the leg. Okay, but now let me do the front of that leg. It's going outside, inside, outside. Okay, so we're gonna have this leg here. This what creates the rhythm in the leg from the front. But these are kind of flat because we're just talking profile, front. Okay, if we want to get a leg in 3 dimensions, we need to understand perspective. Okay, so imagine this is our leg. Let's go back to super basic here. So we need to start thinking about this as a cylinder. So here was where the problem comes. You need to understand volume in space. If you don't understand volume in space, then you're gonna draw everything flat, even if you know the templates. Okay, so once you have the templates and understand the leg, then you can start thinking about that leg. Imagine we want to make it come here, and we think about, right, front to back. And we can think here, this part of the leg is going backwards. Okay, this is coming towards us. This is going backwards. So we have here a leg. Sorry, Swanley, I'm getting into shape a little bit. So we have this leg that is coming here. We're gonna have the knee there. You know, I'm making this as a simple plate, right? To know the direction, to show the direction of the leg, right? It's going this way. And we're gonna have the lower part of the leg. So we have this. And this, once again, is from imagination because I'm not watching any leg. But I understand how it works, its function, the templates, and I can see volume in space. So I can move it any place I want. If I want this leg to come towards us, like in a foreshortening, yeah, I can do that and make this longer because this is coming towards us like that. Okay, so we're gonna have something like this, and finally here the foot. Okay, so you can move and rotate the leg wherever you want. Okay, let's go into a simple pose, a really simple pose to get the idea. Mike's talk at the beginning about the gravity guide. Well, the gravity guide basically is like a stick figure, but helps you get the figure balance on the floor or whatever it's standing. So it works a lot with angles, right? So we can have something like this, right? We can have this. And also I'm thinking here about rhythms, right? I'm thinking about rhythms. These are shoulders, right? This is the angle of the shoulders. These are the angles of the hips, right? And we have this rhythm created here. Also based on the templates. So we need to know the templates. We need to know perspective, and we need to know the function. So we have this. Imagine we can have one leg here and the other leg this way. So this guy will be standing right here. Okay, so we have something like this. Maybe he's grabbing a pole. So that would be a super simple, basic gravity guide, right? So we have something like super easy. And I'm drawing this from imagination. Once again, I don't have a model right there standing, making this pose. So once we understand this, we can then go like Ritunjay that kind of like this and start filling all the different position of this, right? And start adding like the center of the natural center, like here is the sternum, is the natural center. Then we can add the arm. And let's go to the arm a little bit. Let's go here. I need to think about the arm not only as the function, but as a cylinder, right? We need to understand that this is coming this way. If not, we're just gonna have something like that. And that is, it's a shape, but it's a flat shape. We talk about flat shapes in the previous episode, so if you go there, you can see how to unflatten that shape. So here we're starting to add that, but what's the problem with drawing with cylinders? That cylinders are like geometrical shapes, and we are dealing with human figure. Humans are not geometrical shapes unless we're talking about Pinocchio. So we need to give them life. And to give them life, we use the templates, we use force, right? So I can go here, I can go up, and I can turn the hand and go like this. So basically what I'm doing here is this, right? But I need to think about this, like coming here, and about this, it's going this way, right? I hope you can see the things I have in my mind when I'm drawing, right? So once again, I'm thinking about this angle right here. So I'm thinking about this angle, I'm thinking about this leg. It's coming out, right? It's going in, out, we have there. So this is coming towards us. This is coming backwards. Okay, I hope you can see that this is so easy if you know the perspective of things and you know the templates. There's no way you can miss that. Here, for example, what I'm showing there is that we have the torso like that, right? And it's going that way. Okay, I can do again the middle of the chest, the bottom of the pecs is going around. This is a turning edge, so we're gonna have this here, right? We can add the nipple there, then it goes to the neck, into the head, right? This is a mess. Okay, it's going there. So I'm creating this and also thinking about its function, right? Here, the leg. Once again, I'm doing this, and it's down here, right? This other leg goes that way, out. In this case, this leg is coming like that. It's just this line because of its function, right? And you have here the other foot, right? We have here the arm. I'm drawing over the same. How are we in time? We're good. So I can draw it again cleanly. Okay, so once again, we have the angle of the shoulders, right? We understand this as a function, right? And we show the dimension there. We go here, we go down to the hip, and we basically have our S right here, right? Chest. We're going to have the head, ear. Here's where the arm is coming out. So we put the arm, but we go into the force. Here, the forearm and the hand. This is the other arm. Let's put it on the floor. So we have this leg coming out, in, out. So this is the template. It's outside, inside, outside. Okay, if you know the templates here, once again, is going outside, inside, outside. And with just those 3 lines, you get the idea of the leg, right? It's super easy. It's super easy if you understand what you're doing, if you have all those things in your head, okay? So it's not magic. You see Ritunje drawing blah, 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 like that, but it's not magic. It's not that Ritunje has some special thing in his fingers that grab the pencil in a specific way and magic happens. No, it's because he understands what's happening. I'm also, once again, thinking about this angle, thinking about this angle, thinking about this angle, this angle, this angle. Okay, I'm working here with 45, 45, 45. This is not 45 anyway, but imagine it is. So I'm thinking about angles too, and also thinking about volume. Then we can start using force, adding here some surface line. So we can start working using force once again, like this, showing the surface and in the direction of the force. So that would add more information to the drawing. So here, we're coming from the shoulder into the arm, and we can go round the deltoid there, just a little bit of anatomy, wrap around this arm. So this line I'm putting here is not only showing me anatomy, it's also showing me the direction of that volume, right? Same thing here. This line is not only showing me the function, but it's showing me the sternocleidomastoid muscle here. Okay, so I'm using all of the information that I have to create a drawing. Okay, it's not once again, it's not magic. We have a lot of information, we learn a lot, we practice a lot, and we have a lot of information of what we're drawing, like the human figure. If you put me right now to draw a dinosaur, once again, Swenley always want me to draw Barney. I don't know Barney that much. So if I want to draw Barney, I need to study how Barney works, what are the shapes and how the volumes are, how it's created. So there's no way of drawing from imagination without first learning the subject. Okay, so before drawing from imagination, you need to understand the subject. So if you have the ability or the possibility to go to a drawing session, to a drawing figure, a live drawing session, go there and practice and start learning about the human figure until you know how that human figure works. And after you can do that, then you'll be able to draw it from imagination. But you cannot start drawing from imagination before you understand what you're drawing. Okay, if there's any question there, is like, how should I address anatomy? Okay, Rafael, you're asking about anatomy. I believe you're already are a master of like function, right? Or you already understand how to draw volume. Because if you cannot draw like a cylinder coming towards us, why would you bother to start adding like what we just said here, for example, the deltoid or the sternocleidomastoid muscle, if you cannot show it in space? You know, it's a common mistake to go straight to anatomy without first understanding the basics, like force, form, shape. Okay, you can study at the same time anatomy to get the knowledge of what each muscle do, right? What is it for, and why should I add it? For example, what I show you here, like the pectoral muscle, I can use them, and I know that they will go this way, right? And I won't make the pectorals go under the arm because I'm making a mistake there. You know, so you can start learning those little things that helps. Or for example, here, you should know that this is lower than this, right? When you're drawing the foot in here, right? You're drawing the foot. I know this is visible. Yeah, you're drawing the foot here. This is this angle, and this is this angle with, you have this muscle coming here, and this is higher, right? So those little things you can learn, you can have those little tricks. You can also have like the pit of the neck, the sternum, the bottom of the ribs. Those little anatomy tricks may help you, but don't go too in depth in anatomy before you get to this place. Like you can draw like a cylinder in the direction you want to do it. Like you want to do it like the head, for example. Yeah, you need to understand how to draw that head in some position. You can you see the bottom of the chin, or you can't? So it's looking down. See how easy it is to change the pose. See how easy I can move this arm this way and put the hand here. Just because I know how it works. I can raise that leg right here and put it here and place it on sandbox. You know, it's like moving. I can move this leg this way, right? And put it here. And you can move it for whatever you want once you understand what you're doing. Okay, time's up. I hope you get something out of this. 15 minutes is too short to explain the whole form thing, but I hope you get the idea that you need to understand perspective. I'm sorry, there's no way around that.
All right, thank you, Diego. That was awesome. Beautiful drawing.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, last but not least, we got Swenley coming up. He's going to show us how to use shape, right? And using shape to draw from imagination.
Yes. Let's see, let me share the screen. All right, can you guys see my screen?
It's loading. There it is. You're up.
Yes. So drawing from imagination using 4 shapes, as Metunje and Diego showed you the first steps. Like notice first of all, it's called force shape, which means force always comes first. You know, one of the things that we notice is that once students get to either form or shape, they tend to throw force out of the window, and the drawings start to stiffen up. So everything is based on force. It's like it's the foundation, and then you stack form and shape on top of it. So first of all, the do's and don'ts, and those of you who have the Force Companion book would probably recognize this page. So do's and don'ts, right? And
Hey,
talking
before you
about,
go any further, Swenley, some of you might not even be aware of this, but Swenley and I did collaborate on a book called the Force Companion book. It's like taking the first Force book, which is now an orange cover, the 10th anniversary edition, kind of simplifying the lessons down and putting more drawings in there. So this, and it's all illustrated by Swenley. I basically played editor on that book, but Swenley wrote the book and illustrated the whole book, and it's just like chock full of forceful drawings with those main core lessons of force, form, and shape. So yeah, check it out. It's an awesome, awesome book.
yes, thank you for the addition, indeed, Mike.
Yeah.
So this is a page from chapter 3 of the companion book, which talks about shape. And first of all, you have do's and don'ts with force shape. The don'ts are the symmetrical shapes that we can see here at the top. And the problem with these is that, first of all, they tend to stiffen up the drawing because they are symmetrical. If you notice, the shapes at the bottom are much more dynamic and energetic, and they have a clear direction. Like there is clarity as to which side of the shape is driving force. Whereas in the row at the top, you know, because it's symmetrical, it's like, okay, which side is the force side? Is it, it's neither side, right? Because both sides are equal. And another thing about the force shape, or as it is also called appealing shape, is that it's more interesting because you have contrast. You have contrast between a straight side and a curved side. And again, one rule of drawing and design is that contrast creates interest. So you want to avoid symmetrical shapes as much as possible. Like, of course, if you're drawing like a figure from a perfect front view, you know, you can't avoid it because, you know, the figure is symmetrical. Well, the wise thing to do is to avoid a perfect front view unless it's necessary. Like maybe if you're drawing like model sheets, you know, for a video game character or something like that, you have to draw a perfect front view. But other than that, to keep your drawings dynamic, you want to avoid that and draw things from, you know, it's like when you're like picking a shot for a movie, right? You don't want to pick an angle that makes things boring and takes out all the drama. On the contrary, you want to move your camera around and find the best shots, you know. So try to stay away again from perfect front views of the figure or views that make things perfectly symmetrical. And also, like I think Diego um, got into a bit when he showed the forms, um, you don't want to put symmetrical shapes in places where they're not, you know, like Diego showed us the rhythms of the legs, for example. And one common mistake is you see people draw the legs like a perfect symmetrical cylinder. And our anatomy is not designed like that. If you observe the body and the limbs closely, you will see that the anatomy is asymmetrical, you know, because it's rhythmic to keep balance. So yeah, those are the basics. And let's see. So Mrityunjay basically showed you guys how to communicate or draw your ideas with line. And once you move into shape, you start, it's kind of like shifting mind gears. Now, instead of using line to communicate idea, you're using shapes to communicate your ideas. And super, super important, keep force and form in mind when you're drawing with shapes. Again, one common mistake that students make is once they get to shape, they tend to like throw force and form out of the window, and the drawings look flat and are disconnected. You know, like first of all, the forces are describing how something works. They're describing the function, right? So if your drawing is not working, that's a sign that you need to go back and check the forces and see if the rhythms connect properly. And then you have form, which follows the function or the forces. And then the shape is simply the outside edge of the form. So shape is kind of like this container which brings together force and form. Okay, now in terms of how to apply this, let me do a quick demo here. So before I draw, I kind of like visualize something in my mind because I need an idea, right? Otherwise, I don't know what I'm going to draw. So let's say we have the torso of a character. And as you can see, I'm starting with a shape. But when I'm drawing the shape, I am thinking about the volume. I'm not drawing this, but I'm thinking it, like Mike. And I think, yeah, Mike mentioned that the important part, you know, about drawing on the paper. And when you look at professionals, a lot of these steps are left out because, you know, at a certain point you get to a point where you can just visualize this stuff. You don't need to draw it per se, but it's in your thinking. You have to think about it. So let's say it is the character's torso, and then maybe there's a leg. I'm thinking about how that leg fits into the torso. I
So
also
you
want
did
to
an
put it.
interesting thing on that leg too, right? Because you went from wide to narrow and narrow to wide, right?
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Indeed. Again, just to create variety and contrast to keep things interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see what I'm going to do with this leg.
So while Swinley's drawing there, what I'm talking about, guys, is notice the force of the leg that Swinley drew is going like this and like this. And he went from wide to narrow. What I'm talking about is this width to this width, right? And then he went from narrow to wide. Now, you could do that just for a style choice. You can even get a little bit of depth out of that because it feels like this is a little further away and this is getting closer. So it could be made for either reason. Normally, what the body does is, you know, you have the torso, and typically shapes go from wide to medium to narrow, right? And things get smaller as they move away from the body, like a tree and branches, right? So things get smaller and smaller and smaller until you get to the wrist, all the way down to your fingers. But sometimes it's fun, as Swenley did, to reverse it, right? That's a design choice, right? Using shapes. And he still has force because he's got those two curves, you know, driving us down to the foot.
Yes, thanks for the addition, Mike.
Sure.
Let's see, let's move this a little bit. Say this is coming towards us, and you can see that I'm applying perspective here, meaning that objects get bigger as they get nearer to us. Let me group these two fingers into one shape. Move this around a little bit. And as you can see, I'm staying really loose, and I'm changing things. Like, I don't put pressure on myself that everything needs to be perfect in one shot. So this arm is farther away. And as I'm drawing these shapes, I'm thinking about the direction in space. Like, I'm not drawing these lines, but I'm thinking about the cylinder that Diego showed earlier on. So notice the size difference between the hands. Like, this one is closer to us, so it's much, much bigger. Let's see, I want the head, and I don't think I'm going to give him a neck. I'm just going to attach a head shape directly into this.
What the hell is that? It's like Invader Zim or something.
Let's see what Sony come up with.
Yeah.
Let's say, since the Batman trailer came out, let's say it's Batman.
It's baby Batman.
Exactly. Let's say it's Batman, and
2-minute countdown, Swenley.
I have 2 minutes left.
Yep.
Well, time goes by fast.
Yeah, that's when you're having too much fun.
Exactly.
Always stealing the show with his baby Batmans. He's got one tooth, at least one good tooth. One chunk of tooth down there. We have some requests for a cape. Marion says he needs a cape, Swenley. There it is. It's coming, folks.
Look how Swenley is using even like shape in the cape as well, you know, to make it like more dynamic there.
Yeah, nice flow. Watching out for tangents.
Exactly.
We should just do a video one day on all kind of fan art stuff. We'll draw funny little characters, forceful. Maybe some non-forceful characters so we can inject some force into them.
Indeed. Let's get this utility belt in there.
Yeah,
Most important.
of course.
No Batman if there's no fingers.
Fingerless Batman. There we go. Oh, we're getting cute, right? Very cute. Everyone wants us to do a fan day, I guess, fan art. Maybe we should each take a superhero or something and draw them super forcefully. Superhero
Yeah,
force
should be
riding.
fun.
Yeah. All right, Swanley, we've got to close it up.
No,
All right, guys.
this is,
While Swanley's, what were you going to say, Swanley?
now I say this is it.
Yeah. So good job. Nice way to close with cute little angry baby Batman. I hope you guys enjoyed today's lesson. You know, go and draw from imagination. Draw a lot on the page. Don't be afraid to draw, right? Don't be afraid to draw. Just draw, right? It's not going to hurt you. So put all the information on the piece of paper. Look at your drawings. Solve the dilemmas in your own drawing. Think about force, form, and shape to help solve the dilemmas that are in the drawing, right? And we'll see you next Friday with a new topic. All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Swanley, Diego, and Matunje for their awesome drawing abilities. And we will see all of you next Friday. Take care, guys.
See you.
Yes.
Have a
Bye-bye,
nice
guys.
weekend.
Bye bye.
Bye, guys.
See you.